Welcome to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast with Dale and Jim, where the truth matters and progressives' feelings don't. We bring you the facts from the perspective of two average, everyday guys who will never apologize for being America first, for adhering to our great Constitution, and for saluting the flag that our brothers and sisters have fought and died for. And now, here's Dale and Jim.
Welcome, everybody. Two Guys, One Coup, episode 40. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in again. Jim, we've got an amazing show today.
Yes, we do. Well, we have amazing shows every day, but you know.
Come on, it's not. Yeah. This one a little bit more special, right?
Oh,
Jim,
yeah.
do you want to tell them why, or do you want me to? It's up to you.
We know we didn't give everybody a chance ahead of time to announce this, so but it just happened. I mean, and we at the end of this show, you are going to hear an interview with January Littlejohn and Vernadette Broyles, her lawyer. And if anybody is familiar with January, she was the individual, the parent whose child was being transitioned in school without her knowledge.
Yep. And
we'll say this again as we get closer to the end, but you have to listen to the interview.
You have to listen to the interview.
Both her and her attorney are fantastic. They said it right. And I don't care what side of the fence you fall on, if you're liberal or conservative, you got to hear this interview, because if you 100%. Are a parent
or grandparent,
a teacher, you need to hear this. And they're very specific on what they say. So can't wait for you to hear it. Sorry we weren't able to give you notification, but we didn't want to kind of tell people and then not have it. But this is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And we can't wait for you to hear it.
Yeah, because it's an all too important story that is happening in places around the country that you don't even know about that is happening. And you have to listen to this story. If you don't know who she is, some of our listeners might already know who she is, but you're going to hear some other things in this interview that I don't think you've heard before.
Yeah, scary.
So scary stuff. So you definitely that'll be our last segment of the show today. Honestly, just listen to it. You won't be disappointed
at all.
Is what I'm saying to you. Jim, we do have a lot to get through because I think things continue to happen around this country.
I think so. I mean,
there's some things happening.
I just saw this thing and real quick that, Halsey had a concert and I guess she's a singer. I have no idea. I don't know. But then when she started bad mouthing the overturn, some fans walked out. I don't know how many. But there's fans that walked out because when you go to a concert,
because she was like, "Kill babies."
When people go to a concert, we go to listen to the music. I don't want to hear your. I just don't. I mean, I didn't want to hear somebody say, "Okay, way to go," Supreme Court. No, I want to go listen to music. And then now Amazon. Anyway, we've got some really good stories today that we do.
Did you say the singer's name was Palsy or
Halsey?
Halsey.
Halsey, I think. I don't know.
Not making fun of Palsy. It sounds like that. That's why I don't want anybody to. I'm
maybe.
Not. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you a song she sings though.
Yeah. But, I think we briefly talked about this. Speaking of singers, the lead singer of Green Day, which nobody really cares about anyways.
You got to tell everybody.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it prior to coming on the air that he has denounced his citizenship in the United States, as if anybody gives a crap, right?
I don't care.
But he's going to be a citizen of Great Britain. So here's what he did: he denounced his citizenship. He lives in the state of California, where, as we've discussed, you can abort a baby until they're 35 years old. I think it's a ridiculous amount, right? Yep. And he's going to be a citizen of Great Britain, where abortion is banned after 24 weeks. So you can't make this shit up, people. You can't make it up.
And I'm going to say something very controversial at this point in time.
I doubt it.
We try to be nice to say that it's just ignorance on the left. It's just ignorance. There's got to come some point in time where stupidity has to flat out. I mean, this situation here is stupidity.
This is stupid.
I mean, he lives in California. They're not going to ban anything. You can board your child whenever the hell you want to board
just
it.
Straws, just plastic straws.
Moves to Britain, and you can't have it after 24. Is he going to protest there? It's good. No.
And are they going to care?
Move to China.
Move to China. Yeah, North Korea. North Korea's looking for idiots.
Yeah.
It's insane. Well, we got a lot to go through today, including the interview. Stay tuned at the end of the show for that, please. Jim, let's get on to our first segment. You're up first.
Okay. All right, I gotta combine 3 stories here that won't take long. But it kind of all has something to do with everything, right? But first of all, I wanted to talk about, I don't know how many people have heard about it. I'm sure you guys, some of you have by now. 2 drug traffickers in California were arrested last week for being in possession of 150,000 fentanyl pills.
Now,
I'm going to say that again. 150,000 fentanyl pills.
1,000.
That is enough to kill millions of people. Okay, because little drops of this can be dangerous, right? In non-professional hands, this is a deadly drug. I mean, they were released back on the street. apparently 150,000 pills wasn't enough. It didn't meet.
They needed 150,001, and they'd have been locked away.
Jose Zendejas, 25, and
no way.
Yep, and Benito Madrigal of 19, both of Washington.
The state of Washington?
Yep. Were arrested
from Washington.
Obviously, though it says from Washington, both from Washington. Okay.
Born and raised.
Apparently, I don't know. I don't think born and raised. They might.
Okay. Just move.
They might have
move on.
They might have come across the border. Yeah, it happens now. You know, I didn't know if you knew that or not.
Border. Yeah.
They were arrested during a traffic stop turned drug bust in Tulare on Friday. They were booked in the Tulare County pretrial facility on charges of possession, transportation, and selling of illegal drugs. In surprising twist of events, the 2 inmates were released just days later.
Why? I mean, did they give you a reason?
All inmates booked into the Tulare County jails are sent through what is known as a risk assessment process through the Tulare County Probation Department. That risk assessment is then sent to a judge with the court, who then determines whether or not the individual arrested is held on bail or if they are to be released.
Okay. What
didn't meet their risk assessment. Now, they don't mention the judge's name in here.
Oh, of course, but they'll give you Kavanaugh's address.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, Sheriff Mike Boudreau said he strongly disagrees with the decision to release the traffickers, citing public safety concerns. But said his office was forced to comply with the court order.
Was it a DA that told him this?
It was
a liberal
judge.
DA?
To a judge. The judge.
The literally judge conferred to the sheriff's department, let these people out.
Yeah. Now,
come on.
Hold on. Investigators seized 150 packages, each with 1,000 fentanyl pills, enough to potentially kill several million people. Officials aid each pill sells for about $5, meaning the bust netted about $750,000 of illegal drugs.
Wow.
Now, Dale.
Yeah.
I see Benito coming up to me and offering me a pill.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take it. But
but you're not a druggie.
Well, the problem is these pills, it's fentanyl. You can't take the whole pill. If you take the pill, you're going to die. I mean, we know that, right? We know overdoses are happening all the time because
it doesn't take much. to die.
I prefer my fentanyl to be sorted out by a legal professional. Okay?
Do you?
Yes,
Do you?
in a lab where they have proper scales that are calibrated to the 10th decimal place. Okay, that's what I want.
Yeah.
They are crushing these up, putting these in methamphetamines. They're putting them
Yep.
in cocaine. They're putting them in all these
They're
different
putting them
types
in
of pills.
marijuana now.
They're in all these types. And guys, we have so many young people dying
Mm-hmm.
of drug overdose in this country. And
Mm-hmm. It far outweighs the
between the ages of 18 and 45, it is just absolutely horrendous. And most of these, by the way, the fentanyl, most of it comes from China through into Mexico across the border.
That's where it comes from.
And I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on real quick. Okay? Because we like it when we do that, right?
We do. Conspiracy Jim
18 to 45.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the age for defending a country, correct?
Yep, that is correct. Mm-hmm.
What's China sending? Anyway, if you want to get really
Jim, that is a good point. No.
Stop. Judge Janine on the 5 brought that up, and I thought that was a very interesting point.
That is so. Thank you for not taking credit for it and giving it to the person who got it. But that's that isn't really
18 to 45.
Interesting point.
And the fentanyl, that the major amounts of fentanyl is coming from China through Mexico. But we don't need to close our borders, Dale.
Well, no, not at all.
Because, they're Democrat voters when they come across.
Well,
anyway, so we'll move on real quick. Atlanta suburb pushes to succeed from city due to surging crime.
Yeah. Hope my son's listening to this one. Go ahead.
An Atlanta suburb is aiming to secede from the Peach State's capital as violent crimes plague city streets. Atlanta is the city we're talking about. Yep. Buckhead City. You are familiar with this?
Very familiar.
CEO Bill White joined Fox and Friends First. He discussed how the dismantling of city streets and the impact to defund the police movement for public safety. We are really feeling like this is a war zone. And I don't say that lightly, especially given with your experience in a war, White told co-host Joey Jones. It was, I read that the way it was written, so it wasn't written right. This is murder and mayhem. We are dealing with a mayor who voted to defund the police. So this is a city that's fighting back. But just to give you an idea, I'm not familiar with Buckhead. I'm not. I am
very familiar.
Rape is up 80%.
This is crazy to me.
Burglaries are up 26%, and robberies are up 8%. The wealthy Atlanta enclave has been fighting to become independent of the state's capital as rampant crime has plagued the neighborhood, but has been unsuccessful so far in getting the measure to the election ballot. Yeah. We are short 180 police officers. So what are we supposed to do? They said this has never been done, taking a part of a city out and making it its own city from that. But we are going to do everything we can to do it. So
Jim, this is it's a lot of people call it almost like a second little Atlanta. It's not like Houston where you have almost two downtowns in Houston. They're separated pretty much. This is within the city, itself. And it's it would be weird. I don't know how they would do that. I don't know how they would zone all that because Atlanta surrounds this portion.
And that's why he said it would be difficult to do that. But
they need to. It used to be a beautiful high, hotty-toddy place, a lot of high-end restaurants. More of this
because West Hollywood, that's a very poor area.
Yeah.
Votes to cut Los Angeles County Sheriff funding amid crime wave. You heard me.
Yeah, I heard you. I heard what you said.
The trendy Los Angeles County community has voted to reduce law enforcement funding despite escalating crime that was up 137% earlier in the year and public backlash. So, for you people in San Francisco, the people of West Hollywood don't want this.
Correct.
The people.
Okay. No, but why would they?
All right.
Why would they? What's the benefit?
The budget for the next 2 fiscal years will leave West Hollywood up to 5 fewer county sheriffs. At the same time, the city council approved increasing funding for a cultural arts festival. The budget was approved by a narrow 3-2 vote with Mayor Lauren Meister dissenting, as well as Councilman John Erickson.
Oh, okay.
Most of the residents and businesses I have heard from are opposed to cutting the sheriff's budget, Meister told Fox News. So why did she dissent? Anyway, they are outraged that people and organizations from outside our city are dictating to council how to run our city. The narrative that we can have either sheriffs or social services or either sheriffs or unarmed security teams is false. So what they are saying, it's the pressure from outside the city that is pushing for this. Okay. It's not the city. It's outside the city.
Correct.
So Dale, you asked me, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
Right? Well, here's what they're going to do.
Oh, I can't wait.
They are going to implement what they call unarmed security.
Already wrong. Okay. That's you and I.
Yeah, that's basically you and I walking around. Prioritizing people's safety hasn't just mean people with badges or guns on the street. Lindsay Horvath, who was a city council member, said, "We have to find another way to keep our residents safe in a way that is affordable." Mayor Pro Temp Seppi Shine amended the budgets to reallocate funds for sheriff deputies to the Block by Block program, which staffs unarmed security ambassadors who provide the city with supplemental law enforcement services. So, they're saying that they're going to be able to take out 5 sheriffs, but they're actually going to have more out on the streets because these ambassadors are going to equal like 40.
Oh, I get it. So when they're breaking into the cars or the jewelry shops, these ambassadors are going to talk to them about their wrongdoing
while they're stealing the stuff.
While they're stealing. So all those people that are posting notes on their car windows, like nothing valuable in here, please don't break my car windows, is basically what the ambassadors are going to do. Is say, don't break that car window. Yeah. It's just not right.
Yeah. So
yeah,
real quick.
Who wouldn't want to live there?
Real quick,
utopia.
You're in an area that's up 137%
in crime.
Yeah, I gotta try to say this. You are asked to be an ambassador to go out and help. So you hear security, you're like going, I'm gonna help.
Yeah.
By the way, you can't carry a gun.
You can't carry a firearm.
What's that now?
That's right. So what do you want me? Is this like a crisis hotline? Am I supposed to? No, because you got to go physically confront these people.
Because, the increased crime of 137%, it's only murder, rape, burglary, aggravated assault, arson, and human trafficking.
Well, I can't see how a weapon would help those situations.
You can talk yourself out of that. Sir, do you really feel the need to shoot that guy? Yes.
Yeah.
Bang, you're dead too. So, again, it's borderline stupid. I'm sorry.
It's borderline stupid.
Anyway,
it is not ignorant. It is stupid. Yeah.
By the way, coming to a city near you. I'm just warning you.
We can't wait.
I'm just warning you.
Can't hardly wait.
It's coming.
For sure.
We'll take all the police around me. I don't care. I'll take
I'll gladly take them. Florida loves them.
Yep.
Florida loves them. We'll take them down here. Jim, was that it for your segment? You good?
Yep.
All right, Jim, let's move on to another one. Do you want to stay in California, Jim? Because I do.
Well, I would love California.
More California lunacy is happening. Actually, what I think is criminal behavior in California again, but not from the criminals. Well, technically not the criminals. California Attorney General leaks home addresses of state's concealed carry permit holders.
Yep.
Well, those people aren't going to be unarmed social worker security guards.
They're not going to be unarmed ambassadors?
They're not going to be unarmed ambassadors, are they? Firearms policy. So listen, it's kind of weird, but firearms policy publication The Reload, so that's basically a publication, newspaper or a magazine or something,
Right.
surveyed the tools Los Angeles County data, finding that 244 permit holders were authorized to carry as judges. So the database contained the home addresses of the judges. They're saying a potential security threat. What do you think?
Potential?
Anything.
People on the left aren't crazy.
California Attorney General Rob Bonta touted the database as introducing transparency on state concealed carry processes. California isn't exactly a state known for transparency, raising questions as to why the state's attorney general is prioritizing the release of information on private citizens who legally own and carry guns. After reporting on the database on Tuesday, the utility went offline. So that database went offline, suggesting the release of personally identifiable information could have been unintended or a mistake. There's what vindictive, sore loser bureaucrats have endangered people's lives and invited conflict by illegally releasing confidential private information, California Rifle and Pistol Association President Chuck Michael told the Reload after the leak. He's not wrong. CRPA is working. So that the CRPA, do you need me to tell you it again? California Rifle and Pistol Association is working with several legislators and sheriffs to determine the extent of the damage caused by the DOJ's doxing of law-abiding gun owners. However, California law does protect the home address information of state officials such as judges and prosecutors from release. The State Department of Justice appears to have flouted. As of Tuesday afternoon, a representative for Attorney General Bontas told the Reload, "We are investigating an exposure of individuals' personal information connected to the DOJ firearms dashboard." Jim, this is just another prime example of leaks that get out there.
Why don't they just pass an amendment that says that anybody who's conservative is demonized, is horrible, and your information is going to be out in public? Why don't they just come out and say it?
Just do it. It's all bullcrap. It's all lies. It's incredible to me, that they can do this. And they're putting lives at danger by doing this.
Okay, but really, are they putting lives at danger?
Well, they're putting the people who are going to protest lives at danger because the judges are carrying.
That's what I'm going to say. You come into my house. You come into my house. I'm sorry. I'm carrying. Well, again, you're stupid.
Either way, they're literally putting lives at danger.
Jim, did you have to unload the clip and reload another one? Yeah.
Well,
he was moving.
I don't think California's got this before.
And did you have to put his head up on a stake out in front of your front yard? Yep.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's just like the Vikings did back in the day. Let you know. Just let you know. Florida's got a stand your ground law. I don't know if California does. But my guess is no. My guess is no.
No. Okay, take it. Ooh.
Yeah. Stand your ground. These guys. Anyways, moving on real quick. While all the news is going on about abortion and everything else that's happening in the world.
Is that what?
I don't know. I heard something about abortion.
Oh, okay. Me too.
While that's all going on, the Biden administration.
Oh, this ought to be good.
Signs 5-year contract to house migrant kids at former North Carolina high school.
Makes sense.
The Biden administration
Why don't they just
has quietly signed these are voters. These aren't. You can't abort
that's
voters.
True. I'm sorry.
Signed a 5-year contract to start housing or leasing. I'm sorry, an abandoned school in Greensboro, North Carolina. You and I have been to Greensboro.
Love
it's
Greensboro.
Beautiful area.
Beautiful.
Love their downtown
beautiful. Area.
Are you thinking of that correctly? You're thinking of Greenville, South Carolina.
Oops.
But go on.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Make myself look dumb again.
Greensboro's still great.
Thanks, Dale.
Greensboro is still great. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're thinking of somewhere else. Greenville, South Carolina, very liberal area, by the way.
Well, yeah.
Unbelievably, but it is beautiful. But Greensboro, beautiful.
Yep.
We've been there 1,000 times.
Yep.
We know. So they've leased this old high school, a 5-year lease, to house what they're saying is just migrant children until they can relocate them to where? Like, who wants them?
Mm-hmm.
Jim, are you taking migrant children or are at your house yet, or
20?
You're not. 20 migrants?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're basically Angelina Jolie, aren't you?
Yep.
You know,
Might as
that's who
well.
you are. You know, I don't want to. I literally don't want to go into too much on this story because of time.
Well, one
but
of the
just
kids I
letting you know,
took in was busted for fentanyl. So sorry, just kidding. That's a joke. Sorry.
That is funny. Yeah, I just want to say that Biden administration signs the contract. Well, he didn't sign it, obviously. Who's paying for this lease?
It doesn't matter.
At this high school in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I know we have listeners in Greensboro. Are you okay with this? Is this something that you're kind of cool with? I mean, this is insane to me, you know. But don't ask Biden about that, and also don't ask little Joey if he's going to run for president in 2024. He's annoyed.
That's the biggest.
He's annoyed by this question. President Biden annoyed by 2024 questions. President Biden is annoyed by the questions surrounding him running again in 2024, according to a New York Times report, which noted that he and top aides see the speculation as a lack of respect from their party and the press. So, I mean, it's a good thing Trump didn't get any disrespect from his own party or the press.
It was not a day that he did not get some disrespect.
Not a minute went by. Those son of a bitches didn't hound him. Several said the president and his inner circle were confounded by Democrats' discussion about a plan B. I wish they had plan B back when he was born.
Oh, that's a good one.
When this one person who has defeated Donald J. Trump.
Oh my God.
Has made clear he intends to run again, the Times reported. The president reportedly told his aides that he's experiencing a replay of when other members of his party expressed some level of doubt about his age and abilities. I mean, we've seen his cognitive skills. We've seen how well-spoken he is. He trips upstairs. He falls off parked bikes. He's the guy. And why would you ask him if he's running? I mean, how dare they?
I would venture to guess with some of the things that are coming out. I'm sorry. I think this guy's a predator. But anyway, let's go.
I do too, and I think it's coming out. And there's some tapes. There's a phone call conversation coming out with him and Hunter, his son. Yep. We're not going to get into it this show, lack of time. But the New York Times reported recently that several Democrats had expressed concern about the president's leadership ability holding into the 2024 as Americans face high gas prices and skyrocketing inflation. That's got nothing to do with his cognitive skills or his ability to run. His policies suck. That's why we all. The guy could fall off a million bikes. Guess what? If the country was doing great and everybody was perfect, I'd be on your side, bro. But I'm not. So,
okay, he went.
Yeah, go ahead.
The speech he gave in Germany.
With
the German chancellor standing behind him.
Okay, if nobody's heard
was talking about how we need to go greener. We need to go greener. What people probably don't know is that chancellor standing behind him realized he had to increase the coal-fired plants, increase the coal because it wasn't they weren't ready. They needed that.
They're not ready. They don't have the technology to.
But at least that guy had the courage. I made a mistake. We need to fix this. Let's do this. Our administration keeps doubling down.
Yeah, absolutely.
What they are fighting to get kids in North Carolina a vacant school. They're arguing and burning shit down because of a Roe v. Wade policy.
Correct.
We are heading towards a recession, folks. I mean, it is coming. It is going to hit. They are going to stall and delay until after the midterms.
Yeah.
Okay. But once these midterms are over, I don't even think there's anything we can do. We are heading into a recession. All they have to do is say, and I quote, we got ahead of ourselves. We want to push green energy, which I don't care. If you want to push green energy, push it all you want.
Do it at the same time.
We are not ready. So let the oil flow. Go get the oil. Let it run at the same time. It's a lot cleaner than it used to be. Yeah, right?
For sure.
So let's do that. And that brings the gas prices down. Then that starts, okay, now we can start doing this. Now we can start doing that. That's all it takes.
Well,
but this
Jim, there's good. Yeah.
But this is the party that blames everybody.
Exactly. And well, it's being run by the green energy folks, AOCs, the Bernie Sanders.
Let's make no mistakes, people. This is Obama's third term.
Oh, but
I don't care what anybody tells me. This is, and they're using Biden to be nailed.
He's a puppet.
Yep.
He's a Manchurian candidate.
Yep.
That's all Biden is at this point. Yeah, exactly, Jim. So, Jim, do you have more to talk about, or should we get to the interview and then come back, or how you know?
No, I just want to add a couple quick things, if I may.
Add a couple quick things.
Okay.
You know, so
for all of you who are following the January 6th atrocity, okay,
that's quick enough. On to our. Okay,
well,
no, go on, Jim.
This witness that spoke the other day, Mark Meadows'
say something.
aide, Cassidy Hutchinson. She actually said that basically, and he was after a speech, he said he got into the SUV, and Hutchinson said that she heard by somebody else. So this is how she gets protected, right? She heard from someone else that he said, I am the effing president of the United States. I want to go to that. To the Capitol. Grab the wheel, and the Secret Service were saying, hey, you can't do that. We're taking you back to the White House. Well, the Secret Service agent and the driver of that SUV have volunteered to speak in front of the January 6th committee, saying that he never reached for the steering wheel and never did that.
The story was made up.
So now she protects herself from perjury because of...
I heard this. Now, what trial have you ever been able to attend where a witness, potential witness, says, well, I heard, well, that's heresy. I object.
Exactly. That's why cross-examination this wouldn't even be going anywhere.
Not the January 6th hoax. Again, does anybody give a shit about it?
First of all, it's not. No. Did people break into the Capitol? Did people storm the Capitol? Yeah, you saw videos. You saw that. But these are electronically sealed doors. Heavy,
magnetically,
solid,
electronically, 1,000-pound doors.
Why were they not sealed before?
Jim.
Anyway,
you know, Jim, when you have flag sticks and protest signs, that those can penetrate 1,000-pound magnetically with police force around it, right?
Look,
with the police force.
People
who believe this are beyond the stupid. Beyond the stupid.
Look, there were some people that drummed it up, went in. They want to blame conservatives and everything else, and
they wanted to cause mayhem for that point.
Right? We're not perfect. We have people on our side that want to do it. The problem is they're not leading us. we don't listen to them.
Right.
They don't run our country. Okay,
we don't
your
let the
craziness. Your craziness is running you. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, and as we're going to show here coming up in the interview.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Do you have anything else, or do you?
No, it's real quick over.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
We'll talk about Lauren Boebert later, because I think we needed to address this separation of church and state thing.
I think so too.
Eventually down the road.
Okay, maybe next show or something. What do you think?
Yep.
Anyways, folks, listen. Please listen to the next 30, 40 minutes, which was our interview with January Littlejohn and Vernadette Broyles, her attorney. You've got to hear the story. We briefly went over it. I don't really think I have much more to add to it. You're going to hear it all. You're going to hear what has happened. And folks, keep in mind, she's not alone. You'll hear that as well.
Yep.
But she is not alone. So, folks, enjoy this interview. We'll be back afterwards to wrap it up. Well, we welcome to the show today January Littlejohn and her attorney, Vernadette Broyles. January is a mental health professional, but more importantly, a mom, a concerned parent of a teenager who began transgender transitioning at her school without her knowledge. That's really what this is all about. And this is about that kind of was the catalyst for the parental rights bill in Florida signed by Ron DeSantis in March, if I'm correct. But thank you both for coming on. We really do appreciate it and appreciate your time. January, if you could just tell the backstory and tell the story for our listeners who may not know
Absolutely. And just to clear up a few things that you said in the intro, my story was not the catalyst for the parental rights and education bill. And so, I think that that was something that was picked up by media. And my, of course, what happened with my daughter was used as an example as to why that bill was necessary, which I am in complete agreement. However, the lawmakers had already written the bill before they even found out the violation that took place with our daughter. Yeah.
Oh, good. Right. Thank you for clearing that up.
Absolutely. So in the summer of 2020, our daughter, who was 13 at the time, expressed to her father and I that she was feeling distressed about her sex. This was after 3 friends in her in-person peer group had come out as some form of transgender the previous, I would say, 3 to 6 months. And so when I say that, it's traditionally when people think of transgender, they think male to female or female to male. And today's version is so much broader and really encompasses false identities such as non-binary, gender fluidity. I mean, if you Google gender identities, I think they're up to 73 or 74. And so that in itself is very confusing as a parent who finds themselves with a child entrenched in this ideology. But to paint a picture for you all and for your audience, this was at the height of the pandemic. The schools had closed down. We finished out the year online. And like so many other teens, my daughter was struggling. She was experiencing anxiety. I think parents were experiencing anxiety because we really still weren't sure what this virus was, what was happening. So like a lot of teens, my daughter spent a lot of time online talking to her friends, and probably much more time online than I would have ever allowed under normal circumstances. Things were still very much closed down here in Tallahassee. And so there wasn't much we could do as a family outside of just, kind of taking walks and things of that nature, which we did. So when she told us that she was experiencing confusion about her sex, we were floored. My daughter had never had any kind of distress over her sex leading up to this announcement. I had already had some red flags and some uneasiness about this friend group because they were hyper-focused on LGBTQ issues, pride flags, because each identity has its own flag and colors. So for kids that are really struggling and searching for who they are and identity, which is a very common occurrence when you're a teenager and a preteen and you're starting puberty, this makeshift identity is very alluring. It's very popular. And so that was kind of my first red flag. We were navigating this the best we could. We sought mental health counseling for our child because, again, intuitively, I felt like this was related to her friend group. I didn't yet have the information that I would find much later, like Abigail Schreier's book, Irreversible Damage, Dr. Lisa Littman's research that uncovered rapid onset gender dysphoria that that shows us this sharp increase we're seeing is like a social contagion that we've seen in the past with these vulnerable teen girls. So we were really just trying to navigate this the best that we could as parents. And we're a very close family. I am a licensed mental health counselor. We are very open with our children. So this notion of us not knowing what was happening with our child is completely false. And I think a lot of parents are being thrust into this this group of quote unquote unsupportive parents. But for most of the parents finding themselves in these situations, that could not be further from the truth. And I'll clarify that more as we talk more about this. So when school was starting, our daughter, and this escalates very rapidly, by the way. You know, they start with, I'm confused. I don't think I'm a girl. I don't really know what this is. It morphs from, I may be non-binary. I may be gender fluid. Like they're just really confused fundamentally. This is an intense form of confusion. And a lot of these children become, I would say it's certainly hyper-focused, but it's almost an obsession with then determining, well, what am I? Chromosomes no longer matter. These children are being taught your gender identity is completely separate from your birth sex, and that you must explore this. Like this is being sold to these children as now a normal part of development. And this is completely not the norm. This should have never been normalized. Do these children suffering from true gender dysphoria deserve compassion? 100%. But this notion that this should be normalized, like you're trying on different types of clothing, is extremely harmful. So when school started, we were aware that our daughter was pushing to go by a different name and use they, them pronouns, which we said, this is happening very quickly. We do not think this is in your best interest. We will not affirm this false identity at home. But at the time, we did not, and we were, by the way, we were going by what our mental health counselor was advising us to do. She was already starting to see evidence of the social contagion happening in our town with other children. So she had firsthand knowledge.
Wow.
And so at the time, I just did not feel like we could stop her from going by a nickname, which is how I thought it would be treated. I had no reason not to trust that the school was on my side, because they had been in every other situation. My daughter has diagnosed ADHD, so she has a 504 plan on file. They have never been able to implement any kind of a plan, even take her photograph without my signature. So I was very naive going into this situation. Exactly.
Why would you think otherwise?
So I reached out to a teacher because, again, you know, we were just being told as parents, just be happy that we are even offering brick and mortar. You are not allowed to go on campus. We will not be having orientations. You will not meet any teachers. Mask your kids and send them to school if that's what you want to do. So, of course, we chose that option because I don't know if you know anything about ADHD, but for these children that have attention deficit disorder, online learning was a nightmare. It was really, really challenging. So we, of course, chose in-person learning. I thought that was the best option for my child. And I left it at that. I expressed to this teacher exactly what I've told to you, that we thought it was directly related to her friend group, that she's in counseling. I didn't hear anything else until about a couple of weeks later. My daughter got into the car and said, Mom, I had a meeting today and they asked me which restroom I wanted to use. That thought had never even occurred to me, because at the time my daughter was expressing a non-binary identity. And so I didn't even understand why they would be asking that question, much less asking it without me being present. And so I immediately emailed the guidance counselor and was called back by both the guidance counselor and the assistant principal, which has never happened. So they told me during that phone call I could not be given any information about what happened at the meeting, because my daughter was now protected by a non-discrimination law. And I was floored. They told me my only recourse at that point was to go to the district, which of course we did, and demanded to know what happened at this meeting. After many weeks of going back and forth with the woman at the district, we finally got a meeting with the principal of the middle school. And we were shown the transgender support plan that was completed with my daughter, with 3 school officials that comprised of the assistant principal, the guidance counselor, and a social worker I had never met. And just so you all are aware, I had met this guidance counselor before for my daughter's 504 plan. I was volunteer of the year at this school. I ran their copy room, so I knew a lot of the teachers, because when you're in the copy center, teachers are coming in and out. I was charged with doing photocopies
Constantly.
for every teacher in the school. I ran the copy room, so I had a lot of other moms that worked underneath me, you know, volunteering like me. And so I was very well known at this school. So this notion of me, you know, being a potential danger to my daughter, that was not even a possibility.
January, what
Correct.
qualifications did these 3 individuals have to be able to do this?
Well, none. And there is no
okay, that's what
non-discrimination law that protects the right of privacy for a child from their parents. That doesn't exist.
Yeah. I was going to ask that, January, because I had never heard of that, and maybe this is even a question for Vernadette. Legally, I've never heard of that, a non-discrimination law or non-discrimination act, or that is in place that wouldn't even involve your signature first.
Right.
You would have to know about it. Vernadette, is that, maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that and tell us kind of what the litigation's about, where it stands now, if you can.
Well, Dale, you haven't heard of such a law for a good reason, because it doesn't exist.
Yeah, there you have it.
All right. First of all constitutional rights that a child hold, and a child does hold certain privacy rights, privacy rights as to their information, their identity at school, etc. But all of those rights are held in a fiduciary relationship with the parents, by the parents, for the child. It is the law entrusts that power to protect the child's violation of privacy from other third parties, people outside of the family unit. And so it is a direct distortion and perversion of any privacy protections or constitutional protections for a child to say that it's against their own parents. Frankly, it's supposed to be against the government, against government officials. That's the first thing for parents to understand. They are distorting the law, and the activists that are influencing school officials are purposely distorting the law. Secondly, even there are courts that have now understood, and the mental health community has stated this for a number of years, to socially transition a child, which change their pronouns, change their name, change the way they're identified in a social setting at school, their appearance, that is a mental health treatment. It is a treatment modality.
Correct.
And it's the first treatment in a conveyor belt of treatments, which leads almost inexorably one to the other. So you start with social transition, you move to puberty blockers, you move to cross-sex hormones, and then culminate in surgery against minors. And what parents need to understand is that when you give a child puberty blockers, you block their natural, normal, genetically determined pubertal development.
Correct.
Which stops the development not just of the body, but of the brain as well. You lock that child in an unnatural, undeveloped state. And then when you add cross-sex hormones on top of it, you chemically sterilize that child.
Correct.
People need to understand that social transition is not a benign intervention, because what few studies we have shows that over 90% of kids, once you reify that imagined identity, that there's something other biological sex, they then almost inevitably move into the medical transitions. And while their children being sterilized, this, in our view, is a human rights violation.
For sure.
I'm
Okay.
still worried that these three individuals were working with your daughter, and I would think that this was called more harm than good, because they honestly don't know how to do this. That concerns me very
Well,
much.
not only that, this document asked her questions that would have absolutely impacted her mental health and safety. So it was
January, is that the gender nonconforming document you were speaking about?
That's the 6-page document where they asked
Great.
her,
Okay.
what name do you want to go by? What pronouns? How are you identifying? Which restroom do you want to use? Which sex do you want to room with on overnight field trips?
This is
And
crazy.
so when they're allowing a minor child to make those kind of decisions without a parent present, it does several things. First, it sends the message very clearly to the child that you are in charge. Your parent's authority is no longer needed or respected. And this created a huge wedge between our daughter and us, which, with a lot of these situations is already occurring because everybody in their life is cheering them on this path of self-destruction by affirming this false identity. And just like my daughter, many of these kids, this does not bring happiness. It furthers the confusion. It furthers and deteriorates mental health issues that were already present. And
Correct.
our daughter, like many of these other kids, spiraled after this.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Yeah, Jim and I both have raised teenage daughters and sons. Our son was severe ADHD, so I'm very familiar with all that goes on with that. And there's enough issues with raising daughters to begin with, let alone this influence and this happening. It's absolutely just insane to me.
Well, Gail, it should be noteworthy to your audience that this phenomenon is inflicting girls at a heavily disproportionate rate. So had you been in the past a very tiny percentage of individuals in the population that had dysphoria with their bodily sex, it used to be 0.01%, and far less than even a fraction of a percentage, and mainly largely young males. It is entirely flipped, and the numbers are skyrocketing. We're seeing 3,000, 4,000% increase in children, particularly with at the stage of puberty and into adolescence, that had never had distress before, are now exhibiting distress. And in some schools, it could be 5%, 10%. There is clearly a social contagion aspect to it. And the population now is 70% girls, whereas it used to be 70% boys. So that right there tells you that kind of increase and that kind of disproportionality should tell people who are thinking about this, parents, this is not a naturally occurring phenomenon.
Correct.
It goes with girls that historically, who exhibited anorexia, bulimia, cutting, other self-destructive behaviors in past generations at a disproportionate rate. Adolescent girls.
Correct. That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And if I could just add to that,
Please.
What she's saying is so important. So in those statistics, they're also finding that up to 40% of these girls are on the autism spectrum.
Wow.
And what's happening, especially with children like my daughter, you have a child who's 13, who's at the cusp of puberty, which is already an incredibly challenging, difficult, and confusing time.
Correct.
Then you're sending a message to this child, well, if you're uncomfortable, which I don't know a 13-year-old girl that's not, if you're uncomfortable with your developing body, it's not normal, and it's because you're trans. This is what these children are being told. They are being groomed online, and then they are being only affirmed in this transgender identity by the school, which is why this is not a benign intervention. And the schools are complicit.
Yep.
Because not only were they cutting out parents of these critical decisions being made, but they're affirming this idea that, yes, I was born in the wrong body. Something is wrong with me.
Yeah.
This must be the proper path for me. And what I have found and the deep dive that I've done in this issue is the majority of these children, and it's heartbreaking,
Mm-hmm.
they all have an intense self-loathing of themselves.
Wow.
They have a very low
Excuse
self-esteem.
me.
And when you're affirming this self-loathing, it's no different than affirming an anorexic
Correct.
and their self-hate of their body. It is no different.
It's child
And
abuse.
in fact, the parallels that I have seen between gender dysphoria and anorexia and kind of the what these girls are doing, such as wearing binders, an intense hate of specific body parts. And for these girls, it's typically their breast. So they try at any cost to hide their breast, to flatten their breast, and it becomes an obsession to do this.
Yeah. And this is just so we know and the audience knows, this is nationwide. This isn't just Leon County schools. It's nationwide.
Yeah.
And that
we've done a lot of stories.
That's the important part too. And you got to be able to just get into these schools. And there's still places that, and we've interviewed people up in Michigan, their schools are no longer, they're still not open today. They can't get in. They don't know what's going on. So there's got to be a way for parents to be able to do this. Is there hope for them out there? Is there a way for them to fight this?
There absolutely is. So you're right. You're not just saying something off the top of your head, Dale. We have heard from parents literally all over the country. We have colleagues that have brought lawsuits, and we have brought lawsuits in various parts of the country on behalf of parents, and our colleagues have brought lawsuits. But even beyond those, we are hearing from parents and even from some teachers who are concerned from state, 1,000 miles away. And what's fascinating is that what they're reporting to us, or the guidance that we're seeing, or the de facto verbal guidance they're giving their people, is almost identical.
Wow.
Almost identical wording, which tells you there's a common scheme here.
Correct.
Okay?
Somebody generated this and passed out the script.
Exactly. And I want to make clear a couple of things. I do want to talk to parents and what they can do.
Please.
But January and I want to make really clear something. The threat is not from kids who are confused with their sex. It's not from them. The threat is to them. And that's why January and I are standing. We've stepped into the gap to stand up for them, to raise the awareness, to protect them in their vulnerability. And so I want to speak to parents, but I also want to speak to teachers. For teachers who are listening to this and perhaps are trying to understand this phenomenon, understand you went into teaching because you love kids and you want to help kids. Understand that to cooperate with this confusion is to cooperate with harm to this child. And the first thing these child needs is they need their parents. They need their parents' involvement. Bring them into it immediately, because they need the good mental health care that Jen was talking about. But when we speaking to parents, and the last thing I want to share, no, you're not helpless, Dale, as you said. We want to empower you. You have actually far more power than you perhaps realize, or society wants you to recognize. But there's a number of things you can do. First of all, understand your own identity. Our children are having an identity crisis in many ways because parents are having identity crisis. We've lost the core sense of who we are. We are the people that gave life to these children, or perhaps they're adopted, that are legally the ones that love them more than anybody else. We are the ones who would lay down our lives for them. When the pandemic came and there was a virus that was stalking, out there, where did they send these children? They didn't take care of them. They didn't keep them there. They sent them home to us. That should have driven home the fact that we are the ones that, when all else fails, we're the ones that are going to be there for these children today and decades down the road.
Correct.
So understand our own identity. Secondly, know what's going on in school. Be aware. Find out in particular what clubs are operating in your school, because in many cases it's the clubs that are bringing in this ideology, and they're inviting kids into the clubs, and you don't even know because they're there at school. In particular, be aware of whether there is a GSA club there. It used to be called the Gay Straight Alliance or the Gender and Sexuality Alliance. And we have found that organization is the canary in the coal mine. Wherever GSA clubs or clubs like it, Glesson clubs, are very active in a school, this kind of ideology is circulating. Thirdly, communicate your parental instructions to this school, and do it in writing. Whether it is a detailed email or whether it's a letter that you send to your principal, making clear as the parent, this is what my child is allowed to partake in. This is what she or he is not allowed to. If this sort of ideology instruction comes up in school, I want my child excused. I want to know about it, and I want my child excused. These are the clubs my child is not allowed to partake in. And if you have an issue with that, you call me and discuss it with me, not my child.
Right. Good point.
And if necessary, you're getting pushed back on it, CC an attorney.
Oh.
All right. Also, in this letter, if you are a person of faith, then document that. Put it down. This kind of ideology, not only is it violates my understanding of science and reality and biology, but it violates our faith. It is anti-biblical. It is, or whatever words that are appropriate to your faith, document it. Because at some point, this may be Exhibit A as to how this school knowingly, after being put on notice, violated your rights and your free exercise rights on top of it. Fourthly.
Nope, my bad. Nope, sorry.
Okay. I have 2 more. Okay? All right. Fourthly, parent at home. You cannot wait until your child has been confronted with this falsity for them to react to it. They need to have first heard about it from you. And I'm so sorry that we live in a day and age where we have to sit our young son and daughter down and explain to them, listen, if you hear somebody, I don't care if it's a friend, I don't care if it's a trusted teacher, I don't care if it's whatever, a counselor, try to tell you that you could have been born in the wrong body. No. And you teach them the truth, you inoculate them with the truth, and you tell them what the lie is, such that when they hear the lie, immediately they'll respond with stranger danger. They'll just no. And and tell them, and come and you tell me when this has happened, and we will deal with this together. You won't be by yourself. Fourthly, or maybe I think this is fifth, there's strength in numbers. If this ideology has come into your school, all right, and you want to confront it, don't do it alone. Find other like-minded parents in your community, and I guarantee you, do not succumb to the threat or to the bullying rhetoric of the ideologues that you would be considered as some sort of phobe, so a transphobe or some other phobe. Listen, you are a parent that loves your child.
Bottom line.
So go to bat. Go to bat for them. And I guarantee you, we have heard from parents who are progressive, liberals, as well as conservatives, as well as nothings, independents, all saying this is harmful. This harmed my child. And so I guarantee that there are going to be many other parents in your community that are going to have the same parental response that you do. Gather together and you go as one voice to the school board. And then finally, if the school does not recognize that you as parents are the authorities for your children, that they work for you, your child doesn't serve them, they work for you, then you vote with your feet and you take your child out of a toxic environment. Because I tell you what, it is not worth it. Whatever allegiance you might have to a school, it is not worth what this could do. If you're seeing that this has begun to take hold in your child, or it has the potential, take your child out of that environment and you send the signal, because they will lose funding when your child leaves or a bunch of your children leave. they will lose funding. At some point, it begins
Yeah.
to get their
And
attention.
You hit,
So
you
those
hit
are
them in the
if I could
pocketbook,
jump
January.
in.
Yeah,
Go
go
on.
ahead.
You can have the last word, January. Yeah.
I really want people to understand there is no such thing as a transgender child.
I agree.
There are children truly struggling and confused about their sex. This was historically known as gender dysphoria. Our culture and society is now manufacturing children who are confused about their sex through gender ideology.
Yep.
And I want parents to know that even with children who have gender dysphoria at a very young age that were experiencing distress, the research shows us that the vast majority, and I'm talking 85 to 90% of these children, if they don't socially or medically transition, they would outgrow their distress or resolve their distress through the help of a counselor by puberty or shortly after puberty. So I really want parents to understand that there are administration, teachers, guidance counselors, and school board members that want to affirm your child in a transgender identity, even if you don't approve of that.
Yep.
And there are other treatment options that are very effective in getting to the root of your child's distress. Historically, it was called the watchful waiting treatment approach. This was a very well-known, it was actually the approach that was used by leading gender therapists like Kenneth Zucker and other people that were responsible for writing the DSM-5 criteria for gender dysphoria. And watchful waiting approach helps the children to desist, not to continue to believe this falsehood that a person can change their sex, because no matter what puberty blockers, hormones, or surgery someone gets, you cannot become the opposite sex. And, you know, maybe at another time we can go through, when you pull back the curtain of gender affirming care and you really truly research what these drugs and puberty blockers do, we're talking about horrific, irreversible changes to a child's body that fundamentally they cannot consent to. Their brains are not fully developed until age 25.
Amen. Correct.
They do not understand, which is why we are seeing detransitioners blowing the whistle.
That's right.
Like a 17-year-old named Chloe. She's out there testifying all over our country, and God bless her for doing so.
Correct.
She was put on puberty blockers, testosterone, and had a double mastectomy by the time she was 16 years old.
Yep.
She is now detransitioned. She has no idea if she can ever have children.
Correct.
She has issues relating to her bladder and releasing her urine. So we're talking about significant issues with reproductive organs when you put hormones that are not meant to be put into a female body or a male body.
Exactly.
I have a real quick question. And this is be real quick. Are you familiar with the Protecting Minors from Medical Malpractice Act that was created by that is being introduced by Senator Tom Cotton and Representative Jim Banks?
I am extremely grateful for their leadership.
So you're for that? Okay,
100%.
Yep.
We have to be able to hold these doctors accountable so that when their brain is fully developed and they realize and recognize that the people that should have been protecting me allowed doctors to experiment on me, they need to be able to have legal recourse.
Agreed.
Now, what are the odds of this gets passed?
Well,
in this environment, it's not extremely likely. However, states are passing similar laws. Arkansas has, Alabama has, but of course, then it's tied up in courts. But you know, over the course of time, it's going to be unavoidable because their voices are coming up. We're filing a amicus brief in the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals in the next several days on behalf of 7 detransitioned individuals, and their stories are heartbreaking. heartbreaking. But their
Correct.
voices cannot
That's right.
be, they
And
can't be silenced
I
forever.
am just grateful that we're having this conversation because for
Agreed.
so
Yes.
long, you know, the activists were shouting down parents that were trying to sound this alarm 5 years ago. And,
Correct.
you know, God bless those parents that continued to try to fight, even when they lost so much for speaking out against this, you know, travesty that is happening with our children.
Yeah.
It is time for them to justify and defend sterilizing children.
Agreed.
We are going to have this debate. There is no amount of name calling that you can do or say to get us to not have this debate.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you for your fight, both of you. We from the bottom of our hearts, from daughters and sons to nieces and nephews, we support you 100%, and we will continue to tell your stories, all stories, because we've got to change this. This is not good.
It has to continue. Listen, I know time's of the essence for both of you. Jim and I can't thank you both enough for coming on.
Yeah.
January, Vernadette, for both your contribution, your fight, the story. You, as well as everybody else who's going through this out there, are in our prayers daily. We thank God that you're fighting and continue the fight. Please feel free to come back on anytime. You have something to say, you want to say it. We'd be more than welcome to have you back.
And yeah, we definitely would like to do follow-ups as you continue down your fight to see how things are going. Because as we stated, we are 100% behind.
Absolutely. And can't thank you both enough. Anyways, folks, come back on. We'll stay in touch with you. We've got your information, and of course we'll keep following to see what the developments are. But thank you both again. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Continue the conversation. Bye-bye.
Jim, what do you think?
They're awesome.
Guys.
They're awesome people.
Awesome. Not only just awesome people and good-hearted and good people in general, but she's a caring and concerned mom who was deeply involved in her child's life.
Volunteer of the year.
Yes, volunteer of the year for her school. And you heard the story. Again, they've mentioned it. We've said it 1,000 times. This is going on everywhere, folks. You may not see it. You may not know about it. You may not be hearing about it. And you may not be involved because you don't have children. Jim and I have children in school, not just children. Jim and I do not have children in school. But guess what? Someday we're going to have grandchildren in school. And the more this goes on and the more you let them do this, the absolute worse it gets. It's the adage of giving an inch, they take a mile. They are literally abusing your children, our children in this country. They are abusing. And if you don't stop it, if you don't get involved, and Moms for Liberty is a great group to get involved with, folks. This is all part of that.
This is what they're fighting for.
This is what they're fighting for. So I hope you really listen to I hope you share the interview with friends, family on both sides of the political aisle, because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't
matter
matter if you're
partisan
liberal or conservative. This is about
it doesn't matter. These are about kids, and it's about the deformation and the grooming of your children to the point where with these puberty blockers, and we've talked about it a million times, that there's no going back from it. Your kids are being used as guinea pigs, and at a rate that is an alarming rate at this point now.
Remember what we talked about. I mean, we talked about this on a couple episodes before. Some of this medication is medically castrating pedophiles. That's what these drugs are, folks. It's the ones that are.
That's right.
These pedophiles take it. They're basically medically castrating them. That's what they're giving to the kids. Kids,
children,
and folks,
teenagers,
and I'm not
preteens.
We don't want to sit here, and no one is sitting here saying that we don't need to sympathize with the kids that might be going through this. Okay,
correct.
But all we are saying,
there's a process.
Yes, all we are saying is let this child talk to this child. Let's follow this child through. Let's be there for this child.
Counsel
And then when
them.
they become an adult, if they decide to go through this stuff, let them go through it then.
So
beginning with the puberty blockers and stuff. Not at 13, not at 14, not at 15.
So Jim, yeah, what the other side is saying is, well, we are counseling them, we are assisting them. No, you're keeping the parents out of it.
Yep.
You're taking the parents or the legal guardians of these children, and you're shutting them out and doing what you want. It is literally, it's child abuse, Jim. It's child abuse. And if the people listening out there aren't as pissed off as you and I are about this happening, something's wrong with you.
Well, especially
something is wrong with you, because you need to be more empathetic towards this and care, because it's happening, people.
During the interview, when we asked the question, the three individuals that were with the daughter, putting her through this, what form? How were they qualified to do this? What qualifications did they have?
You heard her answer.
And January said none, absolutely zero.
None.
None. This is the problem, guys. I mean, you can sit there and call us transphobic. You can call us homophobic. You can call us whatever you want, because frankly, we don't give a crap.
I don't care what you call me.
But the point of the matter is, if you see this as okay, by taking the parent completely out of it and letting unqualified people start to transition your child, just because you don't feel right, you feel different, or because of what they talked about, because of all the things that are being pushed on our kids today. You just don't know. And everything is just, so it's like, let's take a breath. Please, let's just take a breath. Let's think about what's going on with our children. Let's pay attention to the suicide rates that are going up, that you and I already talked about in the states that allow this. The suicide rate of kids between the age of 13 and 25 are going up. And it's aligned with puberty blockers and all this other stuff.
Jim, January, she lives in Florida.
Yep.
This isn't allowed. It technically isn't allowed. There is no law that they're stating. We heard that.
My mind.
Blew my mind. And so the point is you may think that I'm in a state that's I'm in South Dakota, right? Great state. I'm there, or North Dakota. Whatever. They don't allow this here, but the school system is being infiltrated. They are being dictated to by somebody higher than your governor. Trust me. And they're forcing this. You got to demand that you get involved in the school systems and all.
And
that.
I guarantee you, there's not 80% of the parents agree that's okay. I think it's more than that. We're talking maybe 98% of parents, maybe, because you do have some parents that want to get attention.
Don't care.
I want to get attention.
They don't care, or they want the attention.
I've got a girl that's 12 and she's a tomboy. Well, maybe she wants to be a boy, so we're going to start doing this. And it's not. Yeah. I'm sorry, they can't make that decision yet. They're not mature enough.
Correct.
They haven't been through it. And I think she said it best, January did, when she said, what 13-year-old girl, especially girls, because they go through different things than what we do, doesn't feel different while they're growing up. But that doesn't mean you're gay. It doesn't mean you're heterosexual, and it doesn't mean you're transgender.
But they're telling them they are,
and that's the problem.
That's the problem.
You should see that.
That's the problem.
Look at the questionnaires that are given to these kids. Just look at them. We talked about it on
January
on the
reviewed.
show.
And
just
January
look this up. I don't care.
We talked about it with Paige before. We talked about it from
and because we are, I know we're gonna put this on our Facebook. We're gonna put it everywhere on our personal Facebooks, on our Two Guys One Coup Facebook, and TikTok.
You got to share it.
This has got to be watched. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you listen to us or the other 39 episodes and you think we're full of crap and we're just blowing smoke. Fine, whatever. If you didn't listen to the interview with Paige Miller, Moms for Liberty, shame on you, because that's part of the same stuff.
Shame on
this
you.
Is what this. It's not an attack against homosexuals. It's not an attack against transgenders. It's not attacked against the alphabet community. It's not an attack against that. It's protecting our children from these vile people, small percentage of vile people that are trying to change our children. And we really have to look at this. But if we ever ask you to listen to any of if you're liberal and you don't, you know what, you guys are both, listen to the 4 interview episodes with Paige Miller for Moms for Liberty.
Listen to this interview with January and Vernadette.
Littlejohn. She's phenomenal. Vernadette is phenomenal. They're both phenomenal people. And I'm happy that we were able to talk to them. And I would like to call them. I think we could probably call on them again, and they'll come on our show. I think so too. It's great.
Yep,
these are great people, and let's support them. But please listen to the message. It's not political. Listen to the message.
Nope, it's not political. It's generational.
Yep,
it's not political. So again, January, Vernadette, thank you for coming on. Thank you for the opportunity. It was an honor for Jim and I. That's for sure. To speak with them. And we really, really do appreciate it. This is usually the time of show, Jim, where I tell you how to get a hold of us, right? How to find us, how to listen to us. But guess what? Our good friend Mark at the Conservatude has done that for us.
Awesome.
So you listen to the outro. It tells you all the information you need to know about us. Mark, thank you once again. A good friend again, and we appreciate you doing that for us. Listen to him at the Conservatude. After you're done listening to Two Guys and One Coup, of course. Again, Jim, anything else to add this episode?
Just let's pray for America.
Pray for America. It's the greatest country on earth still, but
we have our problems. We have our issues. We have had, but it's still, everybody wants to come here.
Oh, yeah, everybody wants
to
come
now.
Here. You're right. You're right. Well, except the guy from Green Day. Anyways, but he's an idiot, as we found out. Jim, great show. Thank you for your contribution. I do appreciate it, folks. Thank you for listening. And we will see you all. Oh, I might as well tell everybody have a happy 4th.
Yeah.
We're going to kind of do some recording things that are going to be weird because the 4th falls on a Monday and all that other stuff. But
we might not be in a position to be able to do a show because there might have been some beverages drank. That's all we're saying.
There might be. But there will be a show on next Tuesday.
Yep.
We will have our episode on next Tuesday. But enjoy Independence Day. Remember what it's all about.
Please.
The freedoms that we get to enjoy to do this. And celebrate it.
Maybe one day let's forget about everything that's going on and just remember what it is.
Celebrate the country
because the people
who fought and died for us.
I was going to say the individuals that fought for us to be who we are right now.
Yeah, that's
why we're here.
Yeah,
because they took it upon themselves.
And screw you, Brits.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jim, have a great one. Be safe. Enjoy your holiday weekend, and we'll talk to you next Tuesday. Thank you, my friend.
Bye.
See you later, everybody. Bye.
You've been listening to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast with Dale and Jim. Remember, you can watch on YouTube and Rumble and listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you like what you hear, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it, and it helps others find us when searching for podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and TikTok. Just search for Two Guys, One Coup. That's the number 2 Guys and the number 1 Coup, COUP. Thanks again for listening to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast, and God bless the United States of America.